And you're an incarnate consciousness driven by infinite soul. And you, in this lifetime, have this perfect vessel. When I say perfect, it's absolutely perfect for the stage at which you have evolved consciously. All of the framework for what it is that you have to achieve and overcome is contained within your vessel. This vessel surrounds itself with several layers. One of them is the aura, the electromagnetic field, which filters everything that comes in and everything that goes out. Within this framework, which I have depicted here, but think of it as the inverse, because at your core is your clearest, but it would be very difficult to try to depict that framework as going inward. So I depicted it in reverse. Each layer of your genetic framework and also of your chronological framework. And the difference between your genetic framework and your chronological framework is your genetic framework is what you were born with and continues to be with you through your DNA. And your chronological framework is what you experience through chronology, through time, in this lifetime, which then adds epigenetically to your DNA. The purpose of yoga and meditation, the purpose of Kundalini yoga and meditation, the purpose of chanting, the purpose of silence, the purpose of listening to the gong or to particular chanting, is to bring us into what the yogis for thousands of years have called a state of non-attachment. So that you don't attach to anything. And by not attaching, you allow yourself constant capacity to move, not to be stuck. You don't even want to be stuck to something really wonderful. You want to allow something really wonderful to move in your life. And you want to then be available for the next moment of wonderful. Because if you attach to a moment of wonderful, that moment of wonderful moves, well, think of this in 2 or 3 dimensions, but it seems to move into the past. And so if you attach to something really wonderful, ultimately you'll find yourself longing for the past, rather than living in the present. And if you find yourself longing for the past, that longing creates a distance, it creates a loneliness, an aloneness. That aloneness then becomes a predictor, because you soon learn how to work with that aloneness, with that sensation of absence. And once you've learned to work with that sensation of absence, you attach to it because you're accustomed to it, you're familiar with it, you know how to work with it. The moment you attach to that, which was a joyful moment that moves into the past, that you've attached to, now you're connected to the loneliness or the distance or the gap, because you're familiar with it and you always attach to the familiar, suddenly now you're projecting and you're anticipating that this will continue. So the mechanism, the belief system that forms is that once there was a wonderful thing, I miss it so much, it won't happen again. And within that dire picture, you're comfortable in your discomfort. Then you add to that comfort in your discomfort a wish list. I wish I could have that joyful time again. And it's like sitting on the ground wishing that you were on an airplane. I think the journey is you pack a suitcase, you get in a vehicle, you drive to the airport, you go through hell. It's called security. Then you come out of hell and Starbucks is there. And then you sit and you wait for your plane, and then you get on your plane. That process that I just described for not sitting on the ground wishing you were flying somewhere, but instead actually doing that sacred act of getting on the airplane, is the same as it is in life. Rather than sitting in the ground of now, wishing that you were at some other place, you have to actually do the work. And this year is a year of work. This year is a 7, and 7 is a ladder. The actual depiction of a 7 is like that. The earliest 7 was just a diagonal line with a lot of crossbars. And what it indicated was that there is a step-by-step process of achieving everything. Everything that you desire is achievable. As you work to achieve it, your desire will alter, and it will be a combination of your work to achieve and the alteration of your desire that ends up creating. Because your ultimate desire isn't about the thing, it's about fulfillment and joy and knowing and wellness and liberation. You have an idea that this will make it all happen, so you begin to take the step-by-step process towards whatever the this is. And as you begin your step-by-step process, doors begin to open. The this starts to either increase its luster or decrease its luster. And as it decreases its luster, other more applicable components begin to enter the realm. But the whole time that you're involved in that process, you must be unattached, and you must be in a constant state of that sense of inspiration. Because if at any point in the process you say, this is too hard, then it's going to be too hard. So what our task in meditation, what our task in chanting, what our task in silence, what our task in yoga is to maintain the system that creates the attitude, that produces the outlook, so that you can begin that journey and maintain that attitude and that outlook throughout the journey, so that the journey is not disrupted by an attitude that comes in seemingly from left field, nowhere, whatever expression you want to use, and disrupts your progress. What is it they say? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Mm-hmm. Well, the inverse of that is the road to success is paved with the bricks of failures. Because if you maintain your sensation of, I know this will happen, even in the midst of an internal doubt. You know the old saying, don't believe every thought you think. So when doubt occurs, go, thank you very much. I think I'll not have any today. It's just like somebody walking, you finally got on the airplane and somebody walks down the aisle and says, can I serve you this? And you're not into it. And you say, no thank you. You're not obligated to take everything that you are served. Likewise, you are not obligated to take every thought that you are served. Thoughts are just broadcasts. As you're going through the radio and dialing, and you have a particular station that you want to listen to, and as you dial through all of the other stations, you're not obligated to, oh, here's another half an hour program I have to listen to before I can get to my program. Oh, here's another one. No, you're not obligated to accept any of those programs. You're not obligated to accept any of the programs that your own system feeds to you prior to you arriving at your desire. And if you can maintain that process of not being derailed by anything, that becomes a guarantee of an outcome. The outcome may not be the specific way in which you have determined that you will be fulfilled. Because if you're 120 and you say the only way I can be fulfilled is to have a child, have a baby, chances are that if you say, yes, that's what I'm going to do, and you remain open and unattached and open and unattached, you will be led by the process to a way in which you will be completely fulfilled, even though your body can no longer conceive. I'm not saying you will have an immaculate conception. I am saying that you will find an alternative fulfillment that gives you just as much joy as what you designed in your brain as what would give you that joy. Because the outcome was not the actual event. The outcome was the fulfillment. The fulfillment of your life. This body, as I was saying earlier, has a framework. We often call it a story, but we're using that word so much I'm trying to find alternatives. It has a framework through which it perceives its world. And that framework, as I said, is built from all of these many generations of ancestors. It's also built from your own incarnations, and it's also built from the time that passes during your life. And so you have this framework through which everything that you experience is experienced. If the glass is always half empty, you can experience a glass that's 3/4 full, and your attitude towards it is going to be, where's the missing quarter? You understand? Because you are comfortable with what you are familiar with. And so that is part of your framework. What we do in yoga is we change the way the body situates by stretching it into positions that it's not normally in, by altering the way in which the body allows the information to flow through it. We do the same thing with the emotional body, which is made up of the peptides and hormones secreted from the physical body. So as you change the physical body, it changes the way that it secretes. It changes the way that those glands and those organs that do the secretion, that form the emotional content of your being,